This is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. Today I'm here back at Dr. Jeff Pierce's house in Northern California. And Dr. Jeff is a family medical provider as well as certified in lifestyle medicine. This is about my third visit to Dr. Jeff's. Links down below to my past visits to Dr. Jeff's during various times of the year, and you could see a whole tour of his garden. But because I'm here today in the winter time, it's a very important time of year to be growing your food, whether you're watching this in the winter, the spring, the summer. What I want to do with Dr. Jeff today is we're going to follow him around his garden and show you guys how he uses the food in his garden. You know, gardening is definitely one of the many lifestyle medicine practices you should do to get your exercise, but of course another big aspect of lifestyle medicine is what Dr. Jeff preaches, is to eat more plant foods. And I know a lot of you guys grow a garden and you love gardening, but you don't know exactly how to utilize or the best ways to use your food. So we're going to walk around with Dr. Jeff today, and he's going to show you guys some of the more common, vegetables he grows and how he likes to utilize them into his cuisine for him and his family, as well as share some of the uncommon plants that are growing this time of year and how he likes to use those as well. Hopefully this will give you guys some ideas on some of the best ways to utilize some of the foods you grow, and also more importantly some nutrition knowledge and tips from a medical doctor who does this stuff for a living and grows a garden for fun in his spare time when he's not helping delivering babies or doing whatever else he's doing at the hospital he works at. So let's go ahead and follow Dr. Jeff around and glean some of his amazing knowledge.
Yeah, so I'm a lifestyle medicine physician, and probably the number one pillar or tenet that I think of first is going to be eating a plant predominant to a plant exclusive diet. And lots of medical associations such as the American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association recommends that we should just be eating more plants in our diet, that they should be a center part: fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices. And you can look at long-lived people around the world, like the Okinawans and the Sardinians, who have the main part of their diet traditionally has come from plants. And so what a great thing to be a gardener, where we can choose to grow some of the healthiest foods that we put as a major component of our diet. It seems like today would be a good day. Here we are in the winter, but we can still find some foods that we are putting into our kitchen and into our bellies every day.
All right, wonderful, Dr. Jeff. So I think we're looking at your rosemary right here. So how can rosemary benefit our health, and how do you personally use it at home?
Sure. So, rosemary grows pretty well where we are. This is a pretty Mediterranean type climate, but rosemary grows all over the place, not just in Northern California. Herbs are such a highly concentrated source of healthful compounds, antioxidants and whatnot. And so we've got little plants and bushes of rosemary scattered around the yard. And, I'll just come around, of course, like people do, and harvest some fresh rosemary that along with some other herbs that we'll probably see on the journey, and make some great pasta sauce. And we tend to make our pasta with tomatoes that we've canned from last summer, if it was a good year, and plenty of herbs, lots of onion and garlic, and oftentimes chopped up greens like collards. And then depending on the type of year, it's going to be a different pasta sauce, because we try to eat in the season as much as possible. So here's a little patch of something that's typically grown as an ornamental around here. This is Tubalgia, or society garlic. And it makes just a pretty little mound, and puts up these nice light purple flowers. But several parts of the plant are edible. The flowers are particularly nice to put on top of a salad, and they have a garlicky type flavor, but the leaves do as well. And so when we, especially if we don't have garlic and onion on hands, we could just come out and pull some of the tips off of this And I think this should go in the pasta sauce as well. It sounds like we're working on a good lunch for today. And then, besides being able to eat your ornamentals, don't forget that you can eat the weeds as well. And you always want to make sure you're picking, what you're picking. But most people recognize a dandelion. And dandelion flowers and dandelion greens, of course, can go in your salad or can be sauteed as well. So some people say, but that dandelion that you just picked, it's quite bitter. But it turns out that a lot of bitter veggies are good for us, and those bitter compounds in them are some of the healthiest parts of it. Now, not everything bitter is healthy, so I'm not recommending to add some cyanide to your diet. But bitter foods, and think, for example, these are broccolinis, and anything in the Brassica family is going to have sort of a sulforaphane flavored kick to it. But that's some of the healthiest anti-cancer component of everything from broccoli to cauliflower to kale and collards, etc. So definitely make sure you're getting your brassicas in your diet every day if you can. All right, so continuing onto aisle number 4 at the herb grocery store here is a little bit of winter savory, and it looks a little bit like the rosemary that we were just picking, but it's just another just aromatic, nutrient and flavor packed herb. And one of the great things about herbs, of course, is that they're expensive at the store. And so you'll save money by growing them, and they typically don't need a lot of water because a lot of herbs are from Mediterranean, drier climates, and so you can save on irrigating if you are in an area where water is scarce, like it is out here. All right, so here we are in February, and it's kind of a drab time of year around here, but one of the things that always gives us color are these calendulas, also known as pot marigolds, and it is what we like is taking off a flower head now and then, leaving plenty for the bees, but every now and then, and just being able to add this to a salad. And back when I was not eating plant predominant, or what I would call a whole food plant-based diet, I thought a salad was basically iceberg lettuce and maybe like cherry tomato, but there's such much more colorful and healthier ways to make salad, and one of the fun ways to do it is by adding some edible flowers to the mix. All right, we try to grow a lot of fruit trees around here, of course leaving space for the veggies, but fruit trees are such a great way to have something going all year round. And what's fruiting right now are the citrus, and this is a navel orange. Something interesting I just learned about navel oranges is that they all have an undeveloped twin in the bottom of them. When you cut it open, you'll see that there was a little sort of twin navel orange that starts to form at the base of them. But they're delicious. And one thing that we talk about with a healthy whole food plant-based diet is to try to eat as much of the whole fruit as possible on average. And so while we do sometimes make orange juice out of this, we would keep as much of the pulp in there as possible, or we would just cut it up and eat it. And they're very sweet, and it's a great snack. It's also a great dessert. And we're big fans. I'm a big fan of trying to let things do the work for me in the garden. And so one thing that has done a good job of self-seeding is this New Zealand spinach. And I believe it's Tetragonium, if that's right. But it is a green that grows in quite sandy situations. We were at the beach the other day and found it growing there. And doesn't require a lot of irrigation. And you can eat it raw, but often it gives a bit of a chalky, almost astringent feel to the mouth. And so the way I prefer to use it is to find the larger leaves and then just cook these down like you would spinach. And it's easier to grow for us than spinach. And so it's nice to have on hand. So when cooking them, I just usually put them in a pan with a little bit of water, And my go-to seasoning for when I'm sautéing greens is a splash of tamari sauce, some vinegar of some sort, often like rice wine vinegar, and some nutritional yeast. Those three things are the base for a lot of my seasoning. All right, so here we are in a little nasturtium patch, and here is flower that will self-seed for us quite nicely. Most people know that nasturtiums put out these really pretty blooms. We'll show you one in the greenhouse. And the blooms are another beautiful addition to a salad, but the leaves are edible as well. We'll eat them every once in a while in a salad, but I heard from an expert, Mr. John Kohler, just now that you can also use them as a wrap to put something in, sort of like doing a spring wrap, a spring roll or something like that. So that's something that we might try. For folks who want to go through the effort, you can also pickle the seeds, the young seeds, I believe, sort of like people do capers. We haven't tried that yet. One plant that likes to pop up this time of year is the fennel. We don't plant it, so this is wild fennel, not necessarily the nice bulbing fennel that people will plant on purpose to harvest the bulbs. But the other parts of the fennel are quite edible. And have that same sort of anise or licorice type flavor. And I'm a big fan of it for putting it in pasta sauces or pizza sauces. I'm more of a fan of it than my wife is, so if I'm eating alone, I will put larger amounts in it, and if I'm eating with her, I'll put smaller amounts in. But the idea is, as you walk around your garden, it turns out that there's so many things that could be edible. You don't have to eat the whole plant, but just putting a little bit of this, a little bit of that keeps your diet so varied. And we know that a variety of plant foods are healthy for us because it feeds a variety of healthy bacteria in our intestines, so that we reap the benefits of many different groups of plants. All right, so. One thing that tends to just go everywhere once you plant it once or twice, at least where we live, is chard. And it seems to probably often revert back to the white form because we're usually planting red and orange and these rainbow chards. But the ones that tend to come back are the ones that are white stalked. But they're all good for you. And when I'm going to cook these down, I will harvest the large leaves, chop them up, and either saute them or put them in a stew or something. But if we're having them fresh, we just go for the younger leaves. It's one of these higher oxalate greens that you don't want to eat, 3 cups of a day, perhaps. But no problem at all with getting smaller amounts, a cup or so. And these guys are related to beets. For example, we know that beet greens and beets are a hot item when it comes to performance athletes, because the ability to help in that for athletics. So I'm a strong fan of chard and beets as well. All right, this is our Meyer lemon tree, and most people are going to be familiar with a Meyer lemon. Tends to be a little bit sweeter than some of the other, like Lisbon or more typical lemon that you might find in a store. Meyer lemons do very well around here, and we were lucky enough to have this tree that gives us lemons most of the year. On one hand, when you've got this many lemons, you can just squeeze them into your meals. You're eating them every day. But also, if you want to save them and maybe get even more benefit than just the lemon juice, is you can blend entire lemons and freeze those into ice cube trays, so that you can pull them and add them to your cooking throughout the year if you don't happen to have a supply of fresh lemons. Some people who might be nervous about eating the entire lemon might, just do grating the peel, but anyone who's grated peel into a baked good, for example, realizes just how aromatic and how tasty that is when you add that in. So great source of nutrients, citruses in general, and I think lemons and limes are great that you can add to just about any dish that you're making. Here we are in a bed of leeks that my wife planted, and leeks are in the allium family. So you think of garlic and onions, spring onions, shallots. Yeah, it's a large family, and they are extremely good for us. And so one thing that's nice about alliums in general is you sort of can plant them and forget them compared to some of the more perhaps higher intensity crops like tying your tomatoes in. That sort of requires more management. But you plant some garlic and it's kind of does its thing, and it's ready for you later in the year. And so I think we probably do a better job with leeks than with onions. So find whichever allium you grow best. You can harvest your leeks one at a time, even if you've planted them in clumps. You know, the alliums have great anti-cancer benefits to them. One little pearl for garlic. One of the benefits is to chop it and then or to press it in a garlic press, and then leave it for about 10 minutes so that the enzymatic activity gets to work, and then add it to your cooking if you want to take it up to another notch. But really, just get your alliums in either raw or cooked, and your body will thank you. All right, so another brassica, another member of the family here is some kale. This is Dino kale. And, you know, just open up your seed catalog, of course, and you'll find just so many different varieties. This is one of many. Here we've got, you know, I can tell that this is really good because people have already been, or someone's already been enjoying this before I got to it. It looks like some slug and snail damage. But it's probably kicking up the enzymes in it that are that the plant uses to protect itself, make it taste nasty for the bugs. But these are some of the same enzymes that we're gonna benefit from health-wise as omnivores. And you know, some of the healthiest foods on the planet are greens. If I had a YouTube channel, maybe I'd call it something like, I don't know, Growing Your Greens or something like that. But what we tend to do is make a pot of beans or some lentils, because those are so healthy, and then just chop these up and put them on top. So here we are in a bit of a mosh pit. This is all mosh, or also known as corn salad or wheat, which just self-seeds. And this works with us and a lot of gardeners out there because it allows us to be lazy. We let the plant have its life cycle, spread seed everywhere, and then now we've got all this free greens for salads without having to go through the process of planting them. They are sort of right in the middle of our garden pathway, but it's worth walking around them for this late winter, early spring season to get a little bit of mosh in the diet. So continuing with the idea of volunteers, this is some radicchio that has volunteered. It's pretty bitter stuff, so you don't need very much of it in your salad, for example. But you know, we have a cold compost system mostly. We kind of add things to it haphazardly, not in any really careful ratio and all at once. So it doesn't probably get up to the temperature needed to kill a bunch of seeds. So we try not to put weeds that have gone to seed into the pile. But what we don't mind about is if we've got something that we like to eat that's set seed, go in the compost pile, then we spread some compost in a bed, and oftentimes we get a whole lot of volunteers coming back up. Yeah, this is just another maybe less typical green that you can use in your kitchen as well. This can be eaten raw, chopped up. Again, at least to each their own, but I couldn't eat a whole salad worth of this. Usually I would mix it in with some chopped up kale, chard, collards, etc. It could probably be cooked down and other things, or put into a stew even, but that's probably how we eat it more likely. All right, so here we are in the greenhouse. We've converted a little carport into a small greenhouse. where I try to get away with some plants that wouldn't do so well outdoors. So some plants that are a little bit more tender. This is a curry leaf plant that typically would grow happier in India than it does in Northern California. So we give it some protection from the cold winter, and it's a great addition to the curries that we make. I will often do a lentil-based curry with lots of spices, turmeric and ginger and cayenne, etc. And then you just take some of these leaves and put them in either during the cooking process from the beginning or towards the end, where you can even either fry them or dry saute them with some garlic and some hot peppers, and then add it to the lentils at the very end. But I'm a fan of the curry leaf plant. What I've found, I think it's not just coincidence, but it will frequently try to go into flower and make seed, and I have gotten to the point to where I just pinch those back, and I think it's allowed more energy to go into the foliage, which is what I use anyway. It might seem like I don't actually purposely plant anything because we're talking about a bunch of volunteers today, but this is another volunteer. This is miner's lettuce, and my understanding is they call it miner's lettuce because the miners would use this as a source of vitamin C. And it's got a nice crisp flavor. It tastes to me very much like a typical lettuce would, very neutral flavor. It's actually one of our daughter's favorite greens. We have to struggle sometimes to convince her to eat the very strong tasting collards or kale, but she'll eat this up with hardly a complaint. And it's high in vitamin C, and another thing that at least in our neck of the woods, volunteers all over the place, not only in beds and in the ground, but jumping into pots like it did here. So here's a little Napa cabbage that we've got growing at the base of this banana plant. You might not be surprised, but it's another member of the brassica family. We're a huge fan of the brassicas. We will typically harvest the whole thing once it gets bigger, and then either do a water saute or do a stir fry with either a tiny bit of oil, like a splash, or just water. And oil's processed food, even healthy olive oil. So for people who are working on losing weight, you do have to watch the amount of calories that you're getting from it. So so I recommend learning how to water saute, especially for folks who are working on with that issue. If not, if you're going for a healthier oil like an olive oil, just make sure it's just a quick splash or a spray if you're using the spray. And then you're getting your calories from the most nutrient-rich foods, which, of course, in this case is the Napa cabbage. And now what's really the workhorse of the garden and the green that I eat just about every day and sometimes twice a day are the purple tree collards. And you can see that this time of year they've got a nice purple color to them. They're also in the brassica family, and they just do so well. And I am a huge proponent of people putting them in their garden. Once the plant seems to be too leggy and you want to move it, you just leave a few of the leaves on and cut the stalk, and then you can start that in a little 4x4 pot to get it going somewhere else. But super high in all sorts of beneficial nutrients, and I will either just chop it up and put it on whatever I'm eating as I throw it in the microwave, or you can of course put it in during the cooking process. You could probably make a nice massaged salad with it, where you just add your spices and your liquids and massage it with your hands, make it a little bit more a little softer like you would to a kale salad. And it's just the go-to for me. I'm a huge fan of it.
All right, so what did you guys think of Dr. Jeff's tour around his garden and what he's actually eating this time of year, and actually more importantly, how he's eating it, right? Do you like this kind of format where you learn about how a doctor eats to get the maximum benefit from their foods. I think what he shared was great, and I would encourage him to actually eat some of the more foods he grows raw without even having to saute them. Like the Napa cabbage could be eaten raw, the collard greens, the tree collards I was showing him. I picked the young baby tender leaves, like I just picked them off his plant, ate them. They're so tender. Then now the hardcore outer leaves that get more old and mature, yeah, those are definitely better heat processed or even juiced or vacuum blended. But yeah, raw is so important to eat our salads raw. And it's important to make salad one of the main dishes you guys eat on a regular basis. So let's hear from Dr. Jeff more, because both of us, we want you to eat more plants in your diet. Whole food plants, whether you grow them yourself, whether you got to buy them from your local farmer's market, go to your local health food store, get some organic greens, get some other plant foods. And I want you guys to displace and get rid of and eat less of the junk foods, the processed foods, the ultra-processed foods, and the animal foods in excess, which are not serving your health. My whole gardening channel was started because I want to teach you guys how to eat greens and eat more foods out of your garden so that you could get the health benefits. I mean, that's why I grow a garden. I mean, maybe some of you guys garden for fun. I grow so that I can have the highest quality food that money cannot buy, and you have that growing outside your door every day. And I want you guys to make it a priority to go outside every day before you make a meal to see, hey, let's try to eat out of my garden as much as possible. And then if I got to fill in from the grocery store, from local farms or whatever, then eat those items in much smaller quantities, but eat primarily out of your garden. This way you're eating locally. You're going to have higher quality food than even, the grocery store, even the farmers could provide you. So Dr. Jeff, what would you say for people out there that are having problems, that are still addicted to eating their junk food, their processed foods? How would you suggest they start eating and focusing on more of a plant-forward or plant-dominated diet?
Those are all real good points, John. I mean, how lucky are we that we are able to produce the healthiest foods on the planet in our own little patch of soil, right? We don't need to depend on a lab. We don't need to depend on a specialized field to grow at least a little bit of our own really healthy, tasty foods. And we grow a lot in containers because we don't have a lot of space. So if all you have is a balcony, you've got the ability to grow some greens, a pepper plant, a blueberry bush, etc., as long as you get some sun. And so I think that's something that we have gotten away from as a society, as things have become more convenient being able to buy things in the grocery store. And I understand that. We live busy lives, and we don't always have time to plan another round of, romaine lettuce, and we got to go and pick it up from the store. But getting out into the garden is so healthy for us, not only for the food that we're consuming, but also the physical activity, the vitamin D from the sun, the breathing in nature, getting those microbes from our garden into us, the healthy microbes into us in many different ways. So, for some folks, just an important step is having just one more fruit a day or one more vegetable a day, and that's a great way to start to eating healthier. Other folks who have maybe they've watched a movie like Forks Over Knives, or they're watching that You Are What You Eat, which is on Netflix currently right now, and they're seeing the benefits of getting more plants into their diet, and it's an easier switch from one day to the next to say, I'm never going back to that fast food chain, and I'm going to eat more like John Kohler's recommending that we do. And really, we are deficient in plants. We're deficient in fiber in this country. We're not deficient in protein. I don't see patients who have protein malnourishment unless you're a starving child with tuberculosis in rural Africa, like I've done some work in the past. But here in America, what we're deficient in is plants. And so the more that we can put into our garden, they're beautiful and they're really healthy for us to consume. And I think it's a great step to do.
Wonderful, Dr. Jeff. So do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with all my gardener viewers out there today after watching this episode, seeing how you eat the plant foods and how they're now hopefully encouraged to grow more plant foods and eat them? Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, I think it's great walking around with John because we're both like-minded in many ways about eating healthy foods, but he goes about doing it differently than I do, yet it's still we're still both getting a lot of plants in our diet. And so, you might have said, hey, none of those things that he's growing appeals to me. I would rather focus more on lettuces or something like that. And that's totally fine, right? You want to grow the vegetable that you're most likely to eat. Some people will also try to grow the ones that are going to taste the best in their garden as compared to something that was picked too early and ripened with some ethylene gas in a warehouse before it got to the counter. But there's many reasons that you want to garden if you're food gardening, and it will work in many different ways. Maybe we'll talk again in the height of the summer when I'm picking some fruit trees, and you'll see that the diet's a little bit different at that point. But plant the foods that you love to eat, and your kitchen and your plate on the table is just gonna be so much healthier, and so will you as a result.
Wow, so that's an interesting point, Dr. Jeff. Is to plant what you want to eat. So I think that definitely could work. But what if you live in Las Vegas, like I do, and you love not going to try to grow lettuce in Vegas in the summertime. So, what I also teach, besides, hey, grow what you like to eat if it grows well for you, but if not, be open to what you could grow easily in your climate, that you could grow easily, and then you could learn to love, and you could accept a new plant food. So growing in the desert, or now with my property in Puerto Rico, I'm going to have to grow totally different tropical vegetables. I grow tropical, greens in the summertime in Vegas that I've never experienced as a child until my adult life. And I grow them not because I love them. I've learned to love them because they grow so well, and I can't grow things like lettuce. So, that's just a whole nother different level. So you could struggle to grow lettuce. Maybe your lettuce grows where you love. If you love lettuce, right? You could struggle to grow certain crops, or you could have an easy time to grow things and get to love things like miner's lettuce, like the mosh, like some of the plants that Dr. Jeff showed you in this episode that literally he doesn't plant. They just come up as volunteers. So what if you could have an all-volunteer garden and found out the local crops that grow, near you easily, and then you don't have to put hardly any work in. He didn't lift one finger to plant into the mosh or the miner's lettuce you saw in this episode. They just come up on their own. And what if your whole garden could be like that? So that's yet another way I want you guys to think about your garden. Hey, you should have a section of your garden where you plant things you love and you love to eat. You should have a section of your garden that, like Dr. Jeff here, just grows on their own. You didn't have to do anything, right? This way you could diversify your diet, get more greens in you, and more importantly, right, get out of the trap of just going to the grocery store and buying the same 5 or 10 ingredients like most Americans do, and eat a diversity of foods. And that's what I truly want for you guys today. And I hope the visit today to Dr. Jeff's here in the wintertime hopefully opened your eyes a little bit about how a doctor who's trying to eat for health for him and his family and spread the message of eating for health out to you guys could help you guys eat healthier as well. So if you guys enjoy this episode, want more videos in the future with Dr. Jeff at his place, hey, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, share this with other people out there that you know that are gardeners so that they can learn about some of the healthiest ways to prepare the plants and how to grow the plants and have an easy and fun time and make it tasty, and even just spice up your pasta sauces, your tomato sauces with a bunch of herbs, to take it to the next level and to get healthier. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You don't even know where to show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos spent. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I'll put video links down below to the videos I've made at Dr. Jeff's with the tour, videos I've made at other times during the year, if you guys are interested in watching how a medical doctor eats that's eating a healthy diet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.